I get the pleasure to be in build sessions with MSPs just like you, building real things with AI. And the number one friction point, the number one blocker is I can't connect to all the systems. In fact, my vendor makes an MCP server or a connector or whatever they call it, yet it's read-only. Another one tried it and it limited them to 100 records. How are you going to search for all the tickets when you can only get to 100? If you're tired of vendor connectors and MCP servers holding your business back, check out the MSP Skills repo. The link is below. It's got over 50 different MCP servers, skills, and connectors that you can use to connect your entire stack to the agentic AI of your choice. Now, why do you care? The reason is you can now go through and say, find all the unused licenses that I'm paying for that I shouldn't be. Would you like it to go through and prep across all your different tools for that QBR? That thing that took you hours to prepare for one client is now one sentence. So if you want to make sure you're getting the value out of AI, you've got to connect it to your real world business systems. And there is no better place than the MSP Skills repo. Check it out on the link below. And if you have questions or if you just want to join, learn more, come to one of the build sessions. You'll see us putting it into action.
Last year's Thanksgiving was the moment when it stopped being a toy and actually became a tool. It's also allowed someone like me who, again, I've lived in tech my entire career. I've been in software as a suit my entire career, but I have not shipped anything of value. And the fact that I can come up with a crazy idea, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I have many unlaunched projects that are not shippable, but the constraints are no longer there. Like, I can actually ship decent software.
Hey guys, Damien Stevens, founder and CEO of Servosity, host of MSP Mindset. Today, I am blessed to interview Matt Van Horn. Now, he created a company that eventually became Lyft. He created the self-driving oven, which was acquired by Weber Grills. But he had spent his entire career in the sales or business development side and is a self-admitted non-technical person. So how has he gone on to create such impact with agents? He created something called Last 30 Days, which is a skill that is the agentic search engine for agents. He created something called CLI Printing Press that allows your agents to connect to anything in the world. So he has, as a non-technical person, had a bigger impact than probably anybody I'm aware of. The printing press has made a huge impact in my life. And what that does is it allows me to connect my agent to anything I can imagine. It could be something for personal use. It could be my CRM. It could be my ticket system, finance system. If you need to connect to it, this helps you do it, and in a best-in-class or GOAT manner. So if you're ready to go from, I wonder what I do, to being inspired by a non-technical person having a world-class impact, you're not going to want to miss out on my conversation with Matt today. So Matt, I tried CLI Printing Press, I think fairly early on, fell in love with it because I appreciate a good CLI wrapped in a good skill, all the optimizations that you've done, why those are better, and all kinds of things. And then it was only after pushing the Granola CLI to your library, your printing press library, that I thought it didn't work. And then it was only after that I realized, wait, you're the same guy that wrote last 30 days that I use also. So the irony I thought was great today is I ran 30 days on Matt Van Horn this morning.
And I haven't even done that lately.
It was kind of funny to see Claude get so excited. Wait, this is the guy that made the skill that I'm using right now. And I feel like that's unusual. That. Yeah, that's unusual hilarious. For 4.8, I think, to do. So it was kind of funny to see how excited it was. And it was how I felt when I was like, I love the CLI Printing Press, but wait, I love this last 30 days. So I'm digging into a lot. And I want to cover also some newer things, but I just want to kind of start with like, what drove you to create these? Like, what was the problem that you were like, I've got to solve this?
I was definitely not thinking about problems. I was definitely not thinking about businesses. Was thinking about, I want to make a thing. I wonder if I can make a thing.
Yeah.
And last 30 days is a particularly fun one. I felt like I was always behind on the latest prompting techniques. Last 30 days is a lot more than prompting techniques, but that was all I wanted to do. Was I feel like my prompts are outdated. This is in January, so this is a very long time ago in AI world.
Yeah.
It's like 10 years in dog years. But in January, I wanted to be able to search Reddit and Twitter on X for the best prompting techniques for whatever new thing just came out. Mm-hmm. And so I had this idea. I was like, wait, my agent can use multiple keys, and a lot of companies don't talk to each other and are not friends with each other. Like Grok has no access to Reddit.
Right.
Gemini has access to YouTube, but not X. ChatGPT has a relationship with Reddit, but not X. And there's no place you can go in the world. Can't go to google.com and get all these things. Right? There's no place you can go. And so I was like, what if people just brought their own keys? Or what if I just brought it? It wasn't even about people. And it was the circumstance of, I live in Washington in Seattle area, and our ski season was really bad. Our snow was not good, but my kids still had to ski because we paid for all the ski racing in advance. They couldn't even get gates up. So ski racing didn't even happen, but they still skied.
Oh, wow.
And I was just at the lodge one day with my laptop, and I was like, I don't really want to ski today, which is sad because I love skiing.
Right.
I'm just going to go build that thing. I don't even know if it's going to work at all, but I literally banged out the first version of last 30 days and a Remotion launch video in the same day. I didn't really test it. I think I sent it to one person. I think they ran it once and they're like, cool. I was like, I don't know if anyone wants this or needs it, but I'm just YOLO. Put it out there. Yeah. And it got 1 million views. And it started getting PRs. And then I remember I was like, I don't know what a PR is. I don't people are submitting things. Like, do I just click accept? Agent, should I accept this thing? Is it, does it give North Korea access to all my search history? Nope. Okay, great. And then I accepted some PR and broke the whole thing 2 days later. And then so I was like, all right, I'm not accepting any more PRs for a while. And then obviously I've learned what a PR is and an issue and have gone deep down this agentic path. But I just wanted something for myself and I put it out there, and I accidentally built the world's first agentic search engine, and I accidentally built the most expensive search engine in the world and the slowest, but it is really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what's funny is I remember trying it going, I get it, but I remember kind of describing it to others, even that we're already using, Claude Code and other things. And they were like, it's just deep research, right? Like every model has some kind of deep research. And I'm like, no, like you said, they're not friends with all the communities. You don't have access to Reddit and X and, all the other YouTube and whatnot. So I think that's really cool. I didn't look, I'm sure Claude can answer this, but the CLI Printing Press, I think, does an unusually good job of finding prior repos or examples. I'm hosting a weekly build session with entrepreneurs building live, and normally they're building, but I actually 2 weeks ago said, look, I want to show off this printing press that I've been using. There's something to it. And so, I was doing that, really just answered some of the beginning questions because then it was ambitious. I was like, it's going to cook for an hour now. So we'll go do other things. Yeah. But yeah, that was really cool. And what was fun during that, it's just a Zoom meeting and there's, 10 or 12 people on, and they're giving input into the thing that we're building. Cause I'm sharing my screen, and then we already just let it rip after answering just a few questions. And then they were like, oh, there's this one guy that built this one thing that that's actually really pretty good for this use case. And of course, it came back with that as one of the top ones it cited. And so anyway, somebody else described it as auto magical. I think it's kind of has some whimsy to it. It does a good job. Is last 30 days part of that? I know I don't have to give it my ScrapeGator's key, but somehow you've kind of infused it with like, it finds the good stuff. Because if you go build something random and without learning from others, you're just reinventing the wheel. So I'm curious how you did that.
Yeah. So Printing Press, again, it's one of those things. Like, obviously I've again, 10 years in dog years since January. So Printing Press is, I don't think it's quite a month old, maybe almost a month old, but it was one of those things. Is like, I don't know. I kind of want this for myself. Actually, sorry, that's not where it started. Soon I wanted it for myself. But where this one started was obviously I'm very agent pilled and spent a lot of time thinking of, I was a early, what was it called? Claudebot user.
Yes.
Before it was OpenClaw. Like the week that started to go viral, Jason Calacanis had me on his show as an expert, because I had 5 of the most popular skills for agents back in the Claudebot days. And so I was thinking about agents a lot, and it was Sunday morning, I think. And I just said, CE plan, compound engineering, CE plan. I want to invent a programming language from scratch designed for agents. Go.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, let me dive in. There's something called MOG. It's gotten a little bit of traction, but agents don't know about pre-existing languages. And I was like, okay, well, what about Peter Steinberger? Like, what languages does he spend the most time in? And he's like, oh, well, he makes all these CLIs. They're in Go. And I'm just like, CLIs, you say? And like, I'd previously posted like CLI versus MCP. Like I ran last 30 days on that, and definitely was a big CLI nerd. And I was like, I wonder, so this is a brainstorm with compound engineering and Claude about programming language turned into what became the printing press. And what if you could just make a CLI out of anything? And as I started to venture in and see what the magic was, it was actually a few different things. So one, again, shout out to Peter Steinberger, the Claw father, the goat. Yeah. And by looking, whenever his agent struggled to do something well, he made his own CLI from scratch in Go. And so I said, compound engineering, why are his CLIs so good? What's the TLDR? And the TLDR is that most companies, when they create a CLI or an MCP server, they just kind of take their API and wrap it.
Yep.
But what Peter does is he says, I am a power user. I have an agent that has infinite compute, infinite tokens, and wants to use the crap out of this service in the most aggressive, powerful way so that my agent is fast and efficient. And so some of the ones he built a Discrawl, which downloads everything that happens in Discord. Like if you were just to like make an API call, that's like, okay, what was the last message that came in? And then the last message that came in, like, no. And so he puts an SQLite database where he sucks in everything and it's constantly refreshing. Mm-hmm. And so, okay, SQL database, that's smart. Thinking like a power user, that's smart. And so he built a few of these. He built the Google one, which is great. And I asked last 30 days, hey, Google came out with their official CLI. Like I'm trying to connect my Gmail right now to my agent. Should I use Peter's? Which I probably shouldn't, because Google's official one came out 3 months later. That would be ridiculous if Google's was worse. And last 30 days was like, you should not use Google's under any circumstance. Peter's is much better. Mm-hmm. I was like, what?
That's crazy.
Why? And so that just kind of got me in this headspace of what if everyone could be a little baby Peter Steinberger on their own and could print their own CLIs. And as I kept running into walls to figure out how this works, that's when a lot of the creative things and genius things that Enter the Printing Press came to be. And I had worked on the printing press for a few days, and I had lunch with Trevin Chow, who was just leaving his job. We were both in the Seattle area. I met him. He sent me a DM because he was a Last 30 Days fan. I don't even know if he's a fan. I don't even know if he uses it, to be honest. But at one point he used it and he complained about a feature, and I kind of ignored his request. And then a few months later, Matt Mullenweg had the same feature request, and I built it for Matt. And then Trevin said, WTF, I literally wanted that a few months ago. And that's why he's like, I'm sorry, I'm not Matt Mullenweg. I'm like, yeah, sorry. Anyway, so Trevin and I met on Twitter, and then we had a good lunch. And then I sent him and he was running compound engineering at the time, which I've already referenced. It's one of my favorite tools to build with. And I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I don't know. Need to figure out what I'm going to do next. He's like, I'm enjoying just building things right now. And I was like, I've got this crazy project. It's like Friday. I'm like, I'm trying to launch by Sunday. Do you want to like beat it up and give it a try? And he's like, sure. And then I feel like he did not sleep much for like the next 2 days, and just started taking my, I'll call it mediocre printing press project, and he started to make it amazing. And I remember on like Sunday, he's like, can we at least launch like Tuesday or something? Like, I have a family and it's close, but it's not quite there yet. I don't think we launched for another 30 days, by the way. Like,
that's awesome.
we put in the time, put in the effort. Trevin made it amazing. But to your question, the 4 things that it does to make a CLI are really magical. So the one you referenced, which is it goes on GitHub and finds other open source projects that have done interesting things. And then it also, captures the star count. Do people care? How old is this? Like, it's funny, Domino's Pizza, for example, there was like a Python script that someone had made years ago that still worked.
That's funny.
That where people could order pizza with this Python script. It was like pre-agents. And so our program's like, all right, cool. Yeah, that's a smart method. And then what's funny is actually like the day before we launched, Domino's finally changed it. They weren't trying to get around from us. They just coincidentally changed it. So we had to reprint Domino's the day before launch.
That's funny.
Look at the community, because the community gives you a signal for what people want to do, but it also can show some of the hacks that people have done so far. Like, oh, does this Python script still work? Do these APIs, is this still the command to order Domino's Pizza? And we can test that during the dog fooding. So that's the first thing it does, is look at the community. The second thing that it does is it looks for the official APIs, CLIs, MCPs that exist. And then the third thing that it does is it does a har sniff, where it takes over your browser and starts sniffing for secret endpoints. And that's a very magical process. And what's cool is, like, you've seen it many times because you've printed kind of web pages, and it's a fun experience. 2 things that we're working on right now, which are kind of magical and kind of crazy. One, Trevin really wanted to connect his Bluetooth treadmill to a CLI. And my last company, we made a lot of Bluetooth accessories for grills when our startup was acquired by Weber. And so we spent a lot of time with Bluetooth. And most stuff isn't very high stakes. And so you don't encrypt it. The Bluetooth device just emits it, because it's not like secret stuff like the treadmill Bluetooth is. And so anyway, you can har sniff Bluetooth signal, take it and control it. And so literally Trevin built a Bluetooth sniffing for the printing press CLI and can now control his treadmill via CLI. And so I literally just saw PR come in for that 30 minutes ago, which is crazy. And the other thing that I was working on that I have not submitted a PR for is a mobile har sniff. So being able to, you have to install this like weird VPN thing on your phone and then mirror it to your computer, but you can actually find the secret endpoints for different things. And so the Tesla CLI, which I just published, I used mobile har sniffing to help get some certain endpoints from that, which was really neat. And then the fourth thing that we do during the process is we put on our Peter Steinberger goat hat that says, what does a power user want to do? And if you actually, I bet 99% of people have not looked at this. You might be one of the few that has, maybe not. You can actually go in and look at some of the files that your printing press produced for your CLI. And there's a persona section there. I forget what it's called exactly. And it literally makes like you are let's go with the treadmill example. You are a power runner. You are training for a marathon, and this CLI is designed for you and this treadmill. What features do you want? And it like role plays and then designs the features around that role play. I don't know if you've seen that. It's pretty wild.
Well, the funny thing is in the build session was when I was showing others, I had built several, but it was the first time I actually noticed. And I wasn't looking at the files, but I just was scrolling by when I was talking about other things. And so we looked at it and I was like, look at they were saying what they wanted built. I was just showing the power of the CLI Printing Press off. And I really didn't know, I wasn't the power user. So it was really cool to see at least at that time, I think it was 4 personas that it pushed. And they were like, no, that's good. Because even if you're the power user, you're going to miss the analytical user or the back-end user or the billing user or the, whatever different persona viewpoint. And so I noticed it, while I was kind of like, look at this cool thing, guys, let's build stuff with it. The other thing I also realized is when you say CLI to people that aren't agent build, it's really kind of like, why would I care? Right. Kind of, you get lost in the weeds. I think the mobile one obviously doesn't exist. I haven't done that. I know I've done the one with web pages. I pushed it in like areas where it's like, it was not designed to do this. Are you sure you want to do this? And cause in Steinberger's way, you'd print a CLI for each, but, my daughter had some health issues. So I'm monitoring for like relative humidity and then radon and then particulate counts and, all these things throughout the home and, under the crawl space and, all this stuff. But it's like across 3 different brands. So I was like, it's all on the LAN. Go figure it out. Go find it. One might have had an API or something. The others didn't. It had to sniff them out, figure them out.
Yep.
And it also told me, I was like, we're not really designed. I'm like, no, I want one because you're going to pull it together because I can go into 3 different apps. They all work via, iOS apps. This would have been, if I had the version you're talking about, this would have been easier, but it went, across the LAN and is trying to figure out what exists and why. And it gave me what I wanted. Like it pulled the 3 together. Even the CLI.
That makes it a goat.
Right.
That's we invented the combo CLI. I'd never heard of that before us. And we call them goats.
Yes, that's right. The combo CLI really is that. And it makes that. And it's like 3 different vendors of IoT devices for monitoring, home health type of things. And it's all put in there. Did you publish it? And I will. I haven't published that one yet.
That sounds fun. You made a goat. Congratulations.
It fought me on publishing just for feedback because it was like, you got to submit the whole manuscript, but the whole manuscript included all the, every piece of the data and all the law, some of the private stuff.
It should be smart at stripping that and just say like, you have to be like, I know you have to submit a full manuscript, so please do, but scrub everything first. So it should do that.
Yeah. Clyde at first was like, no manuscript. And then it was like, no submission for you. And I was like, okay, I'll come back and we'll do something in the middle. So it's been cool to push it in different ways and see that, like you said, it is the goat. Like it's pulled these things together and my agent uses it, but that was the first one I asked it to build a dashboard feature. And so you can run the CLI with dashboard and it shows like 12 rooms in the house, but it's pulling from different vendors and can kind of give you a picture of the trends across all the vendors, all the rooms. And that's just something you couldn't do. And even in the terminal, like that's more than I had before. And then of course the agent can do a lot more with it. So it's really cool. Just impact, I took your idea and I said, look, I shared it with the MSPs that are in this build session. And some of them are kind of tinkering, but, I also realized a lot of the ones that I was going to print, they were kind of for MSPs. They may not, I could submit them, but a lot of your audience may not really find any use. And
no, do it, please.
And so,
please submit. The more neat, like we had a guy submit like a financial thing for Italy, like some sort of financial institution in Italy. It was like great. Like
that's funny.
Like, yes, submit all the things. Like people will find value in it, especially your community will find value of it being publicly available in the printing press.
Yeah, well, just for everybody listening, I think I've printed 6 or 8 when I say manually using yours, but like where I was really doing that interactively. And then last week, this community, they needed it, but they weren't building them fast enough, and I was impatient. And then that collided with Anthropic just resetting the weekly limit.
Great.
So I had like 36 hours left to burn a week. And so I quickly said, all right, let's create a skill. I called it CLI Factory. And I said, look, just like you, I'm using CMUX. You're going to orchestrate multiple panes. Here's how I want you to answer the questions when it comes back. And basically I said, I want you to keep 5 printing presses running concurrently,
I've never
24
done that.
hours.
What?
And I managed to use 100% of my 20X plan.
That's so cool.
And printed overnight 20 CLIs. And so that was...
I think you might have the record. I don't think Trevor or I have done that. That's amazing.
The point is not that I'm the greatest. It's just that this stuff really does work. And, there's one thing to say I've used it once or twice, and there's another to say, okay, now this whole community, these are the common tools they need. And now it's like we can access those. And I would have done them once, one a week or whenever, fitting it in between time and meetings and cloud limits.
By the way, there is, I don't know if you also pay for Codex.
Yep.
But there is a Codex mode built into the printing press in Claude.
I noticed that.
So you could just say, because I have only run out of my Codex limits once, but I run out of my Claude limits every week.
Yeah.
And so you can just say like / printing press. So you want to print granola for the first time, / printing press granola space Codex. And it will build the Go CLI in Codex and send it away to Codex.
Yeah, that is a really cool way to spread your tokens out. And I think already, in that particular case, used a lot of my Codex ones, but my Claude ones were a little more available.
Okay,
so,
there you go.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So, because it's like, what do you do that's productive? Not just burn tokens, but do something productive with it.
Yep. So I have an idea for a Goat CLI. I don't know if it's going to work.
Okay.
But we have to move offices. My company that doesn't exist, that we haven't announced yet. We're moving offices soon, and we don't have an office manager type person to like move the office. There's not that many of us, but like it's still a move. I have to like call a mover, get like internet set up, like these sorts of things. And I was just like, is there an API for a CLI for humans to do work?
Right.
Like, can I just have Claude Code manage this whole move and I do nothing? Like, what dots would have to be connected to that? And so I've started seeing if it's possible. And so the first thing I'm going to print is a TaskRabbit CLI.
Nice.
So being able to enable my agent soup to nuts to book a physical human with good reviews that can accomplish real world tasks, right? So very easy to find a mover, for example, on TaskRabbit, and someone with good reviews, and an agent can do that. And so I was like, okay, so that would be like the first step. And then I started looking at a few of these agent platforms. There's one called Magic. There's another one with Duck in the name, and I'm forgetting exactly what it is, the Duck one. But they are APIs to humans that can make phone calls.
Nice.
And so I tested both of them and had them just call my cell phone and ask if my refrigerator was running. And the Magic one was pretty good. It was a woman in the Philippines. She admitted she was in the Philippines, but she was very nice. Her English was great. And so I'm like, okay, I'm trying to think of what are the building blocks that I can print CLIs to make the, I don't know what to call it, but I think like the human goat API, the CLI, the human goat CLI. And then there's a startup, I think it's called like rentahuman.ai that has gotten a little bit of buzz. I think they're a YC company. I went to the webpage and I just typed in where I live, Seattle area. And there were a lot of people, but they didn't have bios or reviews. So there were like a lot of software engineers on there. I'm like, I don't need a software engineer. It's like moving Office Space. Like I need a mover. So anyway, I don't think I'm going to include that in the V1 because I didn't look like there was enough vetting. It looked like anyone could sign up to be a human for rent. But anyway, I'm going to try and see if this works. I think it depends if TaskRabbit will let me steal their secret APIs, and it seems like they will. And if they will, then I think this is actually going to work, which would be fun.
I'd love to hear. So obviously CLI Printing Press is amazing. I love the story of why you built it. I used last 30 days just to, tell me what's going on with you, which is really cool. Just this morning. And, I'd love to talk about like, you're just taking off with some of these posts. I actually not only had Claude or my Hermes agent, but I read also the one about the agentic hacks in June. And there's some really good takeaways in there. And one of them I think is controversial is like, basically don't read the plan. Like it's not exactly how you phrased it, but tell me about that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how I phrased it. I think I said plans are for agents, you silly human. Don't read the plan.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer that LLMs are very lazy in terms of getting you, like trying to make you happy with the least amount of work. And to get your agent to not be lazy, you need to give it very specific instructions to do something thoroughly, one by one. And my best method for doing that is I use compound engineering, and I pretty much don't let my agent do anything unless it's reading a plan.md file that it's made for itself. And when I wrote my original agent, best Claude Codes hacks article back in the day in March, so I guess that's 6 years ago in AI years.
Yeah,
I talked about how I use Zed to open all the plans and read all the .md files, and I still love Zed, but I don't have a use case for it. It's a good product, but it's not in my flows anymore because I stopped reading the plans. And in general, if you give a good prompt, you give a good CE plan prompt, and I'm often just using my voice and talking things, and my plans that CE and Claude pull together are generally pretty good, like good enough. Like, and so like, okay, I put together the plan. And then if it's something that I think they might mess up, I'll be like, what's the TLDR? So I don't actually load the plan.md. Like, what's the TLDR? And I'm just like, all right, go for it. And then I immediately go to another tab and I kick off another CE plan on a different project. And then I'm like, okay, go. And then they come back and I'm like, okay, CE work. Like I'm sure it's fine. And then like sometimes it's building for 30 minutes. And I'm like, wait, what did you do? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And like,
right.
Maybe I could have prevented that, but like, it's much better for me to move on to the next task in the next window and the next thing that I'm doing than to dwell on nailing this perfect plan. Like, it's generally good enough. And if one of the features got messed up, like, we can fix it in the next CE plan that I don't read. And that's okay.
Yeah. I have a software company. And so when I told my engineers, like, I'm not reading the code, in fact, I don't know if this is 2 months ago or something. I got a new Mac, got the new M5, got all this stuff, because the old one wasn't keeping up. You know how that goes. And I was just like, I don't need an IDE. And they're like, how can you operate? I'm like, why would I need an IDE? Like, I'm not going to read the code. And so, but at least before I was kind of thinking through the plan a little bit more, trying to correct it. So I think it's even more interesting to say, don't even read the plan.
No, don't. Get rid of them. Give better prompts in the beginning. It means you didn't give a good enough prompt if your agent didn't understand you.
What's funny, because I see people and I'm doing things and other peers, and I see you and others doing things. It's like, you know, you're creating things and you're learning from that. And you can look at the output and see, did you get what you wanted? And then, like, I've got folks on the other end of the spectrum. They're like, you know, it's hard to imagine not reading the code, let alone the plan. But the prototype or the CLI or the app or the whatever it is, you know, can be reviewed, right? Boring through a long markdown document may not be the best use of time.
No, not at all.
It's funny because you move the constraint. You know, code generation used to be hard and a thing you didn't trust. And then now it's like, that's easy. And then the constraint became reading plans all day long, which is not that fun. So I love that. I also think this is something I laughed out loud about, because my team would again think this is crazy, which I think is good, is like, just change your shell. So the CLI doesn't open, so like that Claude Code does. And it's just like, yeah, because that's what you do with your CLI, right? Very randomly, very rarely do you run some other command.
Totally. It's funny. I live in Claude Code, and every once in a while, Trevin will need me to like authenticate something on GitHub that's like an advanced security thing to give him access to something on like the printing press. And he's like, okay, CD into this folder and then run this command. And like, obviously I can do ls and cd. That's like the extent of my terminal knowledge. But I literally desperately try to never leave Claude Code. Yeah. And so I have Claude Code run all the commands. And if I ever have to /exit, I'm like mad that I have to do that. Like, just my agent should be able to do it. Like, why? Like,
right.
Just go.
Yeah. On that note, I want to talk about, because I used Last 30 Days and still use it. And then I came across Printing Press and I was like, this is what I really needed. And then only then did I connect that, oh, you're that same person. But then I think the other thing is, like, you look at all the output and all the contributions you're making to all the other open source projects. Of course, it'd be easy to say, oh, you've been a senior developer or, you know, something like that. But help us understand that's not been your background, right?
I'm not. I would love to actually go back to that example I gave you of the first week of Last 30 Days when people submitted PRs and I didn't know what to do. Like,
I love that.
To where I am now is quite funny. So I think that there was, so I've been back when it was called vibe coding. Like I've just been an AI early adopter. It was kind of like a funny joke in my company when someone would join the company. Like, it was a big haha joke that I would teach the vibe coding class, because as the only non-engineer in the company,
right,
designer non-engineer in the company, I remember in the beginning I would, try and just make like a hello world type thing in Cursor, and it would like kind of work. And then a few months later, I would like try and make it's like years ago, feels like, in actual years, not months ago. And then I remember I was like, okay, I'm going to try and connect a weather API key to like display today's weather on a web page. And then like it wouldn't work half the time. Like that was like the extent of my agentic vibe coding thing a year ago. And then on November 24th last year, right around Thanksgiving, that's when Opus 4.5 came out. And a few weeks later, the next major codex release came out. And that's, I call it like the BCAC, works for Claude and Codex. So don't have to choose one. But last year's Thanksgiving was the moment when it stopped being a toy and actually became a tool. And that's true for the best software engineers in the world. They're using these as the tools. They're not writing code anymore. But it's also allowed someone like me who, again, I've lived in tech my entire career. I've been in software as a suit my entire career, but have not shipped anything of value other than like web pages in high school in my entire life. And the fact that I can come up with a crazy idea, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I have many unlaunched projects that are not shippable. I have many ready to launch projects that are completely shippable, completely functional, but I don't know that anyone cares. And so I don't want to launch something that's not a hit, even though maybe I should just launch it and say YOLO and go from there. But I think that everything's changed, and we obviously all know that, but the constraints are no longer there. Like, I can actually ship decent software. I don't know what it looks like. I've never looked at the code. I don't know if anyone ever has, but like I just launched Agent Cookie, which is, again, I have no idea how it works, to be perfectly frank. But I remember I was about to launch. I was like reading the GitHub README, and it was like written in Go. I was like, oh, cool. I guess my agent likes Go now. Like, I know we chose Go for the printing press, obviously, because Peter liked it, and my agent said it's fast and efficient for agents. Great. But why is Agent Cookie in Go? I don't know. But what's interesting about Agent Cookie is what it does is it takes all your Chrome logged in cookies on your main Mac machine, and it securely over Tailscale replicates those cookies on your Mac Mini in the cloud, in the closet, wherever it is, so that if you're logged into something on your Mac, your agent, your Hermes, your OpenClaw is also logged in to, and this works beautifully with all the printing press CLIs. And so I just wanted this for myself, and I built it, and it worked. And then at one point, I remember I said to my agent, even though I was kind of laughing at this, I was like, hey, one of my friends who's a security, I made this up, by the way. One of my friends who's a security expert says that this entire project is a nightmare and that we can't launch it. Can you please fix it? And like, literally, I'd found nothing. I had no reason to believe that it was. And then it was like, oh my goodness. Well, here's where he's right. Here's where he's wrong. I will fix all these things right now. And I was like, okay. And again, I didn't read the plan, but it hardened it. No one submitted any major issues or PRs where they found anything crazy. I'm sure there's something in there, but it's pretty solid. And it depends on Tailscale, which I did not build, which is great. And so that was an important design decision. And that, again, I didn't make, but some agent told me to install Tailscale a long time ago to talk to my Mac Mini. And I said, okay. So it's just one of those things.
No, it's funny. Like I said earlier, I ran last 30 days on you, and that was pretty funny to watch Claude's reaction about that. It got quite giddy, which is odd for 4.8. It's pretty reserved usually. And then, but it's like, I am using Printing Press, I follow you on Twitter, but it's like, X, but it's even, I was like, oh, Agent Cookie dropped. Okay. And it's funny, I have one sitting right over here that's running my Hermes agent. And it's this exact issue. It's like, most of the pain is like, I got to go to that one and now log in. And half the time, like you said, jump in and it logged back out. And then I can't remember which one. I know on this one I'm logged in, but I can't remember if I ever even logged in to whatever that service is.
Anything that's important, like your bank, has two-factor auth anyway. So like,
right.
Yeah. Which is great. By the way, we do have to talk about granola.
Yeah.
CLI, which you printed. And so I'm a big granola fanboy, and it was on my list to print one. And then you beat me to it and you launched it. And do you remember what I said to you?
Yeah. I think you said like, there was some response, like, I'm not sure it works, or, there was a tweak or something like that, right?
Nope.
Am I wrong?
That wasn't it. Nope. There was something. I got way more excited before I started complaining. You don't remember what I said?
Oh, the X post. What I remember is like, I did something. Here's the funny part to me. I had done a couple, and then it prompts you like, do you want to submit this to the library? And the others are like, let me run it. Let me make sure it works. But it had worked so reliably. That one, I didn't even look at it, and I hit submit like maybe, and then to the library, and I just didn't think anything of it. And I was happy to contribute it. And then like, I just was with my family and did things like sleeping. And it was like the next day, you were talking about how you're such a granola fan, and I forget exactly what you said, but then I remember like, all kinds of people were picking up, and I'm like, wow, this is awesome.
So I remember exactly what I said, which you were not remembering, which is funny. And so I've over the years, I've become a lot more reserved and less fun than I used to be in general, like kind of second guessing myself too much. Sure. And I'm trying to be less like that and be more like the old me. And so I remember I was in the office, and I was talking to someone on our team, and I was like, I think I'm going to tell Damien that I love him right now in the comments for making this granola CLI. Is that weird? No, that's what I want to say. Like, how is this going to like negatively affect? Like, it's not. I need to be more out there, more fun. I'm going to tell Damien Stevens that I love him. And so it's hilarious you don't remember this. And so it's on GitHub. And I just said, I love you. So excited to dig into the granola CLI.
It was so funny. I remember now that you say that. And then I was like, wow, he really likes these submissions. Like, I didn't think as much of it,
No one else has gotten an I love you for a CLI submission. You can send your agent to all my comments. I have not said that to anyone else. You are special, Damien. And thank you for not canceling me for saying I love you.
No, that was awesome. I remember just seeing like, kind of waking up to like all kinds of people retweeting it because Printing Press was taking off, and then the granola is popular. And then like the other thing that's powerful though is I just answered a few questions. I had put a lot of effort because I was early like you power user into granola, and I was tired of chasing every time they changed their database, and every time they did this, it broke the API, or, because I had some like, the agent coded up some Python script, and I kept having to chase whatever the latest update changed, it broke. And so like this, I put effort into it saying like, I've learned this and I've learned that, and, think about this and test with this and test in all these real world scenarios that I've seen it break, because I am a power user. Like, I think I average like at least 20 to 30 hours of meetings a week. And so a lot of granola transcriptions. No, it's hilarious. I just remember reading through all of it, like, wow, all I did was say sure to the library, and I've got you saying you love me. I got the printing press taking off. I was like, wow, this is kind of like I just pressed OK instead of no thanks. I'm a little overwhelmed. So it was a little surreal. It was also kind of what inspired me to say, look, I'm going to share this with others. Like, we got this group. I want to share this with them. Let's dig into it, because I feel like most people, they struggle to connect this to the real world. Right. And that's how you do this. So really, really cool, story. I want to make sure we're a good steward of your time. What should we look forward to? What should we follow? What's the name of the secret company? What can you reveal to tell us what's coming?
Yeah, nothing to reveal about the secret company right now, but a lot of all these things will make sense, I think, once we're out there. And it's just a really fun time to build. And you could just have a crazy idea in the morning and have a working prototype, or convince yourself it is a bad idea to build a programming language for agents from scratch. What's funny is Chris Tate from Vercel, who's one of the definitely a top 10 best agentic engineers in the world. He launched Vercel's agent programming language about 2 weeks ago, which was amazing. And I submitted a few PRs, and it's pretty cool. I tried to build a really cool demo using the language, and my agent pretty much said my ideas were not possible yet. So it needs a few more things, but it's again, they're doing it, and it's amazing, and it's really cool. And I'm a huge Vercel fanboy, but you can just do things right now. And I'll give an example of a project that I just had my agent build in a day, and it was one of the most thorough. Like, I wasn't giving it any feedback, and it was like I didn't say /goal, but it was kind of operating in that sense. And I said, SQLite was made 21 years ago. Can you please redesign it from scratch, designed for agents?
Wow.
I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but it spent about 8 hours of tokens, and it built a whole thing. And then I was like, okay, well, how are your benchmarks? Like, and then here's what I actually said. I said, and I didn't even mention it to Trevin at the time. I was like, okay, I'm going to go replace SQLite on everything in the printing press. What's Trevin going to say? and it was like, our thing sucks and is slow. You should not do that under any circumstance. So anyway, the project died right there. Even if it did come up with some novel new database for agent features, then maybe it did. I have no idea. I never read the plan. But it was, that was a 1 day dead project as an example of just how my brain works.
That's awesome. I love the experimentation, and I do a lot of experimenting, but it's never been easier to share it now. And I mean that I've published a few things based on Printing Press to your library. I can publish a lot more. And so whether it's your tool, last 30 days of research, other tools, it's never been easier. So that's what's so exciting to me. It's like you can try things and you can share them, and that is signal.
Yeah, you should post that story, and obviously you'll have this content, but you should post a tweet about that story of you having extra Claude credits and printing a ton of CLIs while you slept, setting the world record for most CLIs printed in agent history. I'll tweet that.
I know. I did actually explicitly say, like, don't hit submit at the end, because if I submit 20 in a few hours, they might, GitHub might kick in and just block us or something. I don't know. But
they're good. We'll accept them. There's a lot of Trevin set up a lot of automation where it'll yell at you if your CLI is not very good, and to fix it.
That's awesome. Well, what's the best way for folks that have gotten value out of this to follow you, connect with you?
I'm just M Van Horn on X. That's the best place.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the time to do this. I'd love to do more together, Matt.
Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah, thanks for being on.
Thank you for reaching out.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Of course, this was great.